Eckert's the best. We go back like 132 years, and I remember in 1890 when we first met, it was such a joy to meet a sort of fellow traveler in the experimental. And Eckert is one of those guys who really is committed to making this stuff happen and sort of craft the landscape we're all living in. So we should all give a big hand to Eckert. Thank you so much. For coming out tonight. This is awesome. This may be the most awesome place I've ever read. It's speaking of 1890. This is like just totally cool. So I'm just going to read two very short passages from my novel Calendar of Regrets. One from the beginning, one from the end, so you don't have to trouble yourself with the stuff in between. And the only thing you need to know about Calendar of Regrets is that it's a novel composed of sort of 12 intersecting narratives, and the narratives are set in different styles, in different moments in history, and in different genres. And what we're going to do for this evening is just to read a little bit from the section from the 16th century, a historical fiction about Hieronymus Bosch. And I don't think we need to know anything more than that. Because behind the heavy green curtains, he has had them manufactured especially for this severity of place, hovers a window out of which Bosch is proud to say he has not peered for almost 66 years. His days are nights lit by 11 lamps. Beyond the window hovers a reeking market square, through which he cannot at this instant remember ever having ambled, although he has done so to bring his humors into balance every day since he was 30 at precisely 2 o'clock with his wife, skeletal Alette, and every day at precisely 5 o'clock, alone in preparation for the evening meal. He cannot remember the neat rows of slender two-story whitewashed and red brick houses adorned with stepped gables, tiled roofs, glossy black highlights. He cannot remember the cobblestone lanes shiny with horse shit, wet hay, rotting vegetables, foamy piss, shabby beggars, and ballooned rats rigored under the autumnal mizzle, or, as must be the case on this warm summer afternoon, were he to allow himself the luxury of a glance, the fly-hazed heifers dumbly raising their heads, not to reflect a little longer throughout the pastures beyond that slide toward infinity beneath a sky sown from Siberian irises. Bosch consults the mirror again. He specks ochre along the dwarf's beak, sparkly with slobber. His grandfather was a painter, his father too, his big brother, 3 of his 4 uncles. Yet for the life of him, Bosch cannot comprehend whence his own style swelled. It resembles that of the other members of his clan, not in the least. Unlike them, unlike his peers, from the instant Hieronymus Bosch kissed brush to canvas, he took the greatest pleasure in leaving a faintly rough surface behind him that announces, "This is a picture of my mind's picture," which is, he believes, as it should be, the world alla prima, a single, sketchless application. Underpainting, he is convinced, is the technique of genius gimping. The skin of any one of his paintings is more Bosch, more fully himself, than the grain disgrace presently stretched across his bones. This is why he has signed only 7 in his career, and then only under duress, only because that is what it took to cash coins, to pay bills, to paint further paintings. Alette sometimes asks why he does not want additional wealth, a larger house, a more elegant wardrobe, although she already knows the answer. She is the one, after all, who taught it to him. It is the same reason he writes no letters, keeps no journals. Such things are paper children. And why produce paper children when one refuses to produce the screechy, selfish, reeking variety? Sail nowhere save among the continents of your own soul, and when your body at long last gives up its war upon you, sloughs away, returning you to infancy, the final hinged panel of the polyptych called yourself, having been reached and rushed beyond, leave the useless remainder behind on the wicked midden heap it is. Let your stunned spirit lift, drift, bolt, soar, because in a phrase, doe-skin brown, watermelon red, sandy summer soil the tone of Sankaga. These are the only exotic municipalities a man needs visit during his delay on earth, so long as he pays attention, keeps his inner eyes open, learns to listen to himself, which is to say, to the noise light makes within his head. And in 300 pages of this and that happens, and Bosch hallucinates a lot, which may in fact be what the novel is composed of, a series of hallucinations that Bosch has had while somebody has tried to poison him. And then he wakes up at the end. And the vision dissolves in a wintry rush. Bosch is once again back on the floor of his studio, sweating, reeking, waiting for the next humiliation to come calling. Somewhere, he senses his right hand waking up. He watches sidelong as it rises and commences a tottering search over the contours of his body, checking for proof that Bosch is still Bosch. The painter inhales and exhales, collecting himself by degrees. He slowly lifts himself onto one tender elbow, onto the other, braces, waits for Lucifer to take note of him, waits a little longer. In measured stages, he eases himself into a sitting position. The entire world remains his body. And then, cautiously, he commences rubbing his limbs, hoping the heat will restore his identity. Beyond the noise called Hieronymus, he hears his wife moving from sitting room to hallway to kitchen, preparing to prepare the midday meal. All he has to do is reach it, and his life will pick up where it left off. Give him a moment. He will, with effort, rise. He will, with effort, hobble down the hallway, strip, wash himself. He will change into fresh clothes, make a stab at poise, make a stab at lunch, then take his daily stroll across the market square with his wife. Walking beside her, he will carefully explain what he has accomplished this morning, where he has been and with whom, the ginger snaps, the seizure, the visions. He will assure her he is perfectly fine, then beg her never to mention this incident to another living soul, including Bosch himself, because he intends to engage in an act of extended amnesia at the earliest possible opportunity. This is why God created a charity named Forgetting. Walking beside her, he will love his wife more stubbornly than he has loved her in decades, and afterward will return to his studio for another afternoon's work, because that is how he has been sewn together. And then tomorrow, he will do it all over again. And so, with a grunt, the painter lifts himself tentatively to his feet. His head swoops and whirls. He wobbles, shuffles a step forward, staring down at a single point on the floorboards to fix himself to this dreadful planet. He regains his footing, becomes aware of his own lukewarm filth sliding down his legs, the shit he has birthed. The stench is crushing. Bosch stands in it bowel bruised, belly sore, knee achy, tongue swelled, thought smeary, life worn. This is bad, he determines, and yet, given a little time, a little rest and recuperation, it will get much worse. Because each morning, as you rise from your bed, the belief hums through your head that you are going to die, going to die, going to die, yes, surely, no doubt about it, but not today. An observation that will remain correct every morning of your life, except one. Because Bosch sees this is as good as it gets. Because this is what sorrow feels like. Because for now, sorrow is the best Bosch can crib in his hands. Bosch is, that is to say, not all right, yet he could be much less all right than he is at present. He is not really alive, yet he could be much deader. And so he pushes off, dragging his feet toward the heavy oak door, reaches out for the latch, lifts, opens, appraises, stumbles through, into the shocking afternoon, into the radiant daylight, his next breath. Thank you.